Good evening and welcome to a live broadcast from PianoForte Studios in Chicago. I'm Leslie Karras, and we're continuing our celebration of Jazz Fest Week this evening as we spend an hour with pianist and organist Jahari Stampley. We'll get to the music in just a moment. First, I'd like to mention that we are broadcasting from the studios at PianoForte Chicago, which is dedicated to helping people love the piano. More information is available at pianofortechicago.com. Now, if it seems rather quiet between tunes today, that's because there's only a small, lucky studio audience for this event. It's mostly just you and me and the artist. My guest tonight grew up in Chicago, but has since spent several years in New York, studying jazz at the Manhattan School of Music. Now, although he's only played piano since his mid-teens, Stampley has already attracted the notice of people like Robert Glasper. And for the past few months, he's been on tour with Stanley Clarke. We'll hear about his influences as well as his forthcoming projects later in the hour. Without further ado, here is Jahari Stampley, live from PianoForte on WDCB. You've been enjoying the music of Jahari Stampley at PianoForte Chicago. I'm Leslie Karras, and you're listening to a special jazz piano showcase here on 90.9 FM WDCB as we gear up for the Chicago Jazz Festival, which officially opens tomorrow. We'll return to the music in just a minute, but Jahari, I wonder if you could tell us about the phenomenal piece we just heard. And you want come on over here. And there was so much to say about it, but I'd rather hear from you rather than my describing what we just heard. But I'll just start by just observing the Latin feel that the piece had initially, and then it took many turns along the way. Tell us about it.
Well, there's no title. It's honestly mostly improvised. I saw a clip on Instagram, actually, which is pretty millennial. But I saw this pianist, just some random lady. She was playing this montuno, and I got at the idea just to try it here at PianoForte. So I literally learned it yesterday, and I was like, man, let me just play it tomorrow.
Wow.
So I just put it together and just played, and yeah, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about how you came to play the piano. I mentioned earlier that you were not someone who was, sitting on your mom's lap at age 2 playing the piano, but you came to it fairly later, than a lot of people do in your mid-teens. Tell us about how you came to pick up the instrument.
So I started when I was 14, and what first got me into it was I came across a YouTuber named P. Miller, and he wore glasses. He was like a black male. He looked just like me, and I just remember being so amazed because I was like, man, I didn't know people like me could play like that. And he used to play classical renditions of pop songs, and he did this one song that was one of my favorite songs back before I did music. It's a pop song called Paradise by Coldplay, and he did this amazing classical rendition of it, and I used to watch that video probably every day. I spent maybe 6 months total learning this video all day, every day.
And you hadn't had lessons before that. You just sat down. And now, but tell us a little bit too about the instrument you were playing, because I think was this an instrument that had been around the house for a long time and you were just drawn to it, or?
Well, my mother, she's a musician. She's Grammy nominated.
Dee Urania.
Dee Urania, she plays with so many people. So I was always around the music. I used to be around, records, and they'd play Herbie Hancock and Chick Corea and things around the house.
I was hearing some Chick Corea coming through.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And probably unconsciously, as a young person, I probably soaked up, even though she didn't directly force me to do music. I always was around so much music, so I think probably having that influence in my life affected, a lot of how I am today, unconsciously.
And I think it's amazing too that you were immersed in the music, and then there was something that, as you described, there was seeing a person, not a family member, playing the instrument and playing music that you were familiar with in a different way that fascinated you, and you wanted to be able to do that.
Yes, absolutely. I wanted to, and I'm just grateful that I found music, and it really changed my life.
Well, I'd love to hear some more.
Yeah, amazing. I think once I started playing, I used to watch the buttons he would press in this YouTube video, and I just used to be a really good visual learner, and I'd copy his posture and exact fingerings, and I auditioned.
And here you are.
Yeah, yeah. So it's unreal sometimes to think how things could change if you just put your mind to it and practice
and so quickly too. It's really impressive.
Thank you. Still learning every day.
If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Jahari Stampley here at PianoForte Studios in Chicago. This is 90.9 FM WDCB. And Jahari, how about a bit more music?
Amazing.
All right, sounds good. The music of Jahari Stampley here on 90.9 FM WDCB at PianoForte Studios in Chicago, where we are broadcasting this hour. And let's see, from We Shall Overcome to Chick Corea. You know, I was noticing how you don't like to go to the melody immediately. You like to get to it gradually. Well, let's discuss that a little bit.
Well, it's part of keeping the surprise, and when you rearrange stuff, I think it's cool to like build the tension, leave a mystery and then bring it in. And at a certain point, they're like, oh, it's familiar now, when you bring it all together. So I think that's part of the beauty of it.
You know, when we were talking earlier about the fact that you were basically self-taught, at least initially, and you were observing really closely what people were doing and then doing your best to kind of imitate it. It's quite a leap from that to the Manhattan School of Music. So tell us a little bit more about how you came to be able to play the piano the way you do now. Did you take lessons here in Chicago? You grew up in Chicago. You were learning the piano in your teens. And at what point did you start taking lessons, if you did?
So I did take lessons. A lot of stuff happened gradually. When I first started, I was just learning from YouTube videos. And I would just literally watch the sequence of buttons that they were pressing. And that's kind of how I was learning for the longest time, was really visually observing every note, everything exactly like. And I could only play back the sequence of this exact video, for example.
Right.
And eventually things started clicking at the most random times. And I've had so many different people just occur in my life and have guided me here and there. And one of those people is Robert Irving III. He was one of the first people that I got official lessons from. There was another person named Tony Kazoo in Chicago. He's an amazing keyboardist here in Chicago, and he really gives back to the younger generation. He also plays with my mom a lot, and my mother as well, just having her in the house, even though she never forced me to learn, she, just being around her and being around the musicians that she would bring around.
There's built-in support right there.
Yeah. So there was just so many different sources, and I think it all just came, it wasn't like a really stagnant growth. It was like a lot of spikes in my growth, where a lot of it was more mental rather than physical, and stuff that I already knew how to do. It was the way that I applied it that made it different. So studying with Robert Irving for the time that I did, he really opened my mind to more possibilities with.
Can you give us an example of some of the things he taught you?
Yeah, so I used to play patterns based on these videos I'd learn on YouTube.
Sure.
And Robert, the way he would teach is he would observe what you knew. And Tony Kazoo was like this too. He would observe the pattern that you knew, and then he would say, okay, you realize that you can take this pattern and reverse it. Or you can take this pattern and place it over another chord, and it would have a different quality or a different sound. So there was a lot of things like that that I never considered. I used to just play boxed in to the exact pattern that the source of it was from. And I think opening my mind in that way allowed me to really expand on ideas that I already had. And I think a lot of learning is mental, and the physical part is really only like 15% of really all that comes with mastering, I feel, or trying to achieve that potential of bettering yourself musically, especially in jazz, like when you're interacting, and especially like even playing with someone like Stanley Clarke. It's like,
yeah, we should talk, certainly. I wanted to get to that. You brought it up. Gosh. So you've been on tour with him, and I think you've also been recording with him. Isn't that true?
Yeah, we just finished a 2-week-long recording at Chick Corea's studio.
Oh my gosh.
He's also, he filmed a documentary, and there's like professional cameras and stuff. I don't even know. I didn't know what I was getting
myself. I can't imagine how thrilling that was.
It was unbelievable. And even when you first walk in the studio, you go up to the piano.
You realize that this is Chick Corea's piano.
And there's like
A sacred instrument.
There's thousands of signatures of all the people who have played that piano. Like Paul McCartney played.
Oh my gosh.
And George Duke, and like all of these names, signatures, Herbie, all within the piano. And Chick Corea's signature is also in there. So it's like
his spirit too.
His spirit. And so it's really a true honor to even work with Stanley Clarke. And I mean, he's really played with everyone, like Stan Getz and Miles. And I mean, he didn't tour with Miles, but he used to be around during that time period. I mean, he was there when Lee Morgan died. Like he was there when Lee Morgan got shot. So he saw so much in his lifetime, and he just telling his stories and his life is unbelievable. Like, I'm really able to spend time with a historical legend, honestly, and I'm just honored to even have the opportunity, and it just makes me work harder to there's a lot of responsibility to uphold, in tribute to someone like Chick Corea. So, yeah. So.
And some of the other people in Stanley Clarke's band, I mean, you've got some other people who are younger as well.
Yeah, there's another person from Chicago, actually, named Jeremiah Collier.
Oh, sure.
That plays with Stanley as well, and he's actually the one that recommended me to Stanley. And there's another saxophonist from New York named Emilio Modeste, and he's incredible. And the guitarist's name is Colin Cook, and all of us are from different parts, different backgrounds, and it's just really cool to come together and play Stanley's music. And Return to Forever, the band is really Return to Forever. It's like reimagined, and we're doing all of those compositions from that record, and just digging into it and learning every intricate detail and hearing from the person himself that played in that group
originally. That's right.
It's just unbelievable. It's like something I couldn't have ever even fathomed. Like, I couldn't have ever imagined this opportunity. So I'm just grateful, and I don't take it for granted.
If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Jahari Stampley here at PianoForte Studios. I'm Leslie Karras on 90.9 FM WDCB. And Jahari, I would love to hear some more music. What do you think?
Amazing.
All right. The music of Jahari Stampley here at PianoForte Studios in Chicago on 90.9 FM WDCB. Jahari, you want to walk us through that?
Well,
Well, we know we started with Amazing Grace. and actually, before you answer my question, I just wanted to make one observation about that rendition. And I don't know about the audience members, but I was really getting the feeling of a bit of Robert Glasper in there, kind of his influence. And I know you've had some dealings with him, but let's get back to the music. So, Amazing Grace. And what do we hear after that?
honestly, I'll just go with the flow and improvise. What did I play next?
I recognize the melody, but the name of it is escaping me right now.
Donna Lee.
There we
I
go.
played
Okay,
next.
of course.
Yes, yes.
Uh-huh.
And honestly,
Wow.
a part of it is just in the moment, and I think I'm just feeling the room and just playing. So.
Well, it's tremendous technique you have, and I know you subscribe to the view that no keys should be left unplayed. And I, for one, appreciate that. Well, where you were talking before about some of the people you've learned from, and today, if we were listening to some of your music on the radio that you made recently with Derek Hodge, the bassist who is well known for his work with Robert Glasper. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you got to know both of those gentlemen in New York?
Well, Robert Glasper, before meeting Derek Hodge, which is the bassist who plays with Robert Glasper, he actually reached out to me and followed me on Instagram, and he saw a video of mine that I posted, a rendition of Giant Steps, before my first year of college. And this was before, I think this was around January or so, and he messaged me and he said, "Man, you sound great, and I'll be in New York in October to play at the Blue Note." And he's got me on the guest list, and he said I could come.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. Okay. So he sent me the dates, and he said, "Man, will you be around? I'll get you on the guest list, and you could bring a friend too." So I got me and my friend. We went to Blue Note. His friend, his name was Christian McGee, and I met him that day and went backstage. And before we had met, I did another video in tribute to Glasper. I did a cover of his. I forget the name of it, but I posted that maybe about 5 years ago, and he reposted it on his page like fully, and
wow,
I got followed.
That's a seal of approval.
It was crazy. He reposted it, and Lettucey and Jill Scott and all of these artists followed me, like Derek Hodge and so many.
Word spread for sure.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. And then I met him probably about a week later at the Blue Note, and went backstage. I met with him, and he showed the video to Derek Hodge, and Derek reached out to me, got my number, and like probably about a week after that, Derek called me to come do a studio session with him.
Wow.
And so I was just like, oh my God. And
yeah.
he had never heard me play in person, so it was like really a leap of faith, and he really somehow just loved the video, and he's always giving back to the younger generation, and he always, it just was really encouraging. And so the next week I went in the studio with Derek, and
this is for Color of Noise?
This is for his latest album that was released, Color of Noise.
I think it was 2020.
Yeah,
released, huh?
It was unbelievable, and he didn't send any music. We basically
So you just showed up?
Showed up.
Wow.
And learned it all. We learned it all in the studio and recorded that day, and it was amazing. It was.
So you recorded the same day you learned the music?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It was unreal. That's how he likes to record, because he doesn't like to send charts and.
Okay.
And Stanley's kind of the same way. Where
really?
It's kind of like he sends the music, but he doesn't really want. It's like sometimes he won't even send it to us.
Why do you think that is?
I think I appreciate it because it helps you really listen, and you learn. When you learn by listening, it's like it's attached to you in a different way than if you're just reading it. And I think when you really learn that way, it helps you to, even when you're playing with people live in person in real time, it helps you communicate in a better way when you're involved in the piece, and you can really hear and you really understand the piece because you learned it without reading it. You learned it, you know, the essence of it through just really digging in and understanding, having to understand what it really is when you learn it. You know?
What people are doing and where you fit in to that, and maybe where it's going as well.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think I'm forever grateful to have had the opportunity to work with Derek, and we still, you know, keep in touch. And he's setting up another tour, I believe, soon, and it's just been a blessing to have been a part of that record.
And another musician I think people would recognize you've worked with is Keon Harold.
Yes, yeah.
And did you tour with him as well?
Yeah, I toured a lot with Keon, and I think the start of it was from him hearing about me through Derek Hodge. So it's like a continuous chain of things that just link together, like from Glasper to Derek to Keon to Stanley to Marquise Hill to all of these people that I ended up connecting with, Jill Scott and Jacob Collier and so many people. It was all connected,
and so quickly too. I mean, you just graduated from the Manhattan School of Music in 2021, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I'd like to hear some more music, but first I'd like to hear a little bit more about now that you've been working with Stanley Clarke and with Derek Hodge, where do you go next? What would you like to do perhaps under your own leadership?
Well, I finished releasing a mobile app called Piano Chronicles, and it's basically like a video game that teaches you how to read notes and play the piano. And I spent
something you did not have.
Yeah, I did not have, and so I spent maybe about like a year or so working with a coder from India on this app, and basically we assembled it and I put it out probably sometime last year, and I really want to try to present that to schools, and a lot of school programs are starting to lose their music programs, so I would like to present that as a way for kids to get into music. And aside from that, I'm working on my first album and a solo piano album as well. Thanks to Stanley Clarke, I actually recorded it at his house.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
wow.
on his piano. So I can't wait, and we're working on that now. We got a videographer, and it's gonna have like quality video. Like Stanley really has been helping me a lot, as well as my parents, and I'm just grateful to them. And
is that original music that you've recorded, or some music by others as well? Or?
Original and a couple renditions of songs by others. And yeah, it's just gonna be coming out sometime soon. I'm working on it very, very, very rigorously. So.
If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Jahari Stampley here at PianoForte Studios on 90.9 FM WDCB. And Jahari, I think how about some more music?
Yes.
You've been enjoying a performance by Jahari Stampley here on 90.9 FM WDCB. This evening's broadcast was presented in partnership with PianoForte Chicago, serving Chicagoland and helping people love the piano for more than 15 years. Information at pianofortechicago.com. Thanks to Thomas Zoles, Rachel Fraser, and the entire crew at PianoForte for their help with this broadcast. Thanks also to Clarice Kavoris, Dan Bindert, and Bruce Oscar for production assistance. And thanks again, of course, to Jahari Stampley for performing for us this evening. I'm Leslie Karras. Thanks for joining us, and stay tuned for an evening of jazz, starting with Afterglow, hosted by Mark Chilla, coming up next here on 90.9 FM WDCB.